When I got the position, I was taught for 6 months how to always overcome no.
So you were doing cold calls?
Cold calling. 2,000 calls a day.
2,000 calls a day.
I remember one time I convinced the guy to invest $300,000, and he did. I remember like a few months later, we lost all the money. And my boss said to me, convince him to send you more.
We live in a generation today where, for whatever reason, we've become so soft that we think we are owed fair, that the odds have got to be in our favor. But actually, if you study history and study people who've made it in history, you realize that the reason their story is worth a page in the book of history is precisely because unfair was in the equation.
Got a call from my sister, and there's so many emails coming in. What's going on? So the call from my sister was like, you did it. I was like, did what?
Typically, when you're starting a business, you want to get into the space where there's the biggest market size with the largest opportunity. You were in the US,
right,
where everybody was trying to go, but you went to a small island. Why did you do that?
To start this business, and I'm going into the banks, and, I'm here to start this business. I'm going to employ people, can I get a loan? And they're like, no. Did you keep going because you believed, or did you keep going because there was nothing else? Great question.
Hold on. You go to your friends and you're borrowing $5.
Yeah, so I could make up to the $30. No one really understands that type of loan. But when you watch your kids, man, like $30, you could only imagine that pain. And they all gave me a warning, and my mom went to my friends and she told them, could you guys please tell them to stop? And they came to me and they said, you have to stop. And everyone is saying you gotta stop, and I'm the only one that's saying, this last bet, that one bet.
So about 4 years ago, we started doing the VT podcast, Ideas That Matter, audio format only. And I want to say we're at something like 3 million downloads now or something like this. It's done really, really well. Really, really well. To be honest, some of you watching this will know because you're often in the inbox saying, when are more episodes coming and when can you get more content? I'd committed to you guys that we were going to start migrating the format not only from audio only to include video. And then we spent, as is my nature, a lot of time thinking about what would the format look like, what's already out there. Because if there's one thing I hate doing, it's being a Me Too kind of guy. So when we did Ideas That Matter, it was a 20-minute format, audio only podcast. You get it on the Monday morning on your way to work, energizes you for the week, and that was it. We don't compete with any other format. We wanted to do something similar with Ideas That Matter Plus, the video content. So here we are. Listen to this. So we start planning it. We come up with like a list of guests and people that I wanted to talk to. And you guys know I'm kind of connected all over the world to all sorts of people. And all of them were right. And all of them we will interview when the time is right. But there's something that happens when the thing you've been wanting, the exact right platform, exact right conversation happens at exactly the right time. So, welcome to Ideas That Matter Plus. I'm not sure why you're watching, but now that you are, enjoy the episode. So in our very first episode, it's my pleasure to introduce to you guys Cassim Walker. 5 days ago, I didn't really know who he was. His partner had reached out, asked for him to come and have a meeting with me. I do these like one-on-one sessions with people that I find interesting, sent through some of his information. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'd like to meet the guy. And he flew out from New York, a native of St. Kitts, flew out to Johannesburg, where we're shooting this from, to come and see me. The meeting was supposed to be about an hour. And I want to say 3.5 hours later, I was like, all right, we need to call it. You got stuff to do. I've got stuff to do. But something in my spirit said he would be the perfect guest for us to do our first episode of Ideas That Matter Plus. Before we get started, Ideas That Matter is something that dawned on me a long time ago when something hit me and I realized this. Everything we hold to be true was once an idea. Everything we possess was once an idea. Everything we become was once an idea. The profession you want, the life you want, the career you want, the business you want to build, the opportunities you want to grow into, the possessions you want to own one day, the house you're going to buy was somebody's idea at some point who took that idea, put it on a piece of paper, created architectural drawings, got council approval, and then built the house. The car you want to drive was once somebody's imagination. Everything we are starts as an idea. If this is true, and it is, then there are some ideas that matter because they move us forward, and some ideas that don't. All I'm going to commit to you on this podcast is I'm going to bring you guests who hold true a single idea that I think can change your life. And all I ask is hold me true to that standard. I might not bring you the most famous people. In fact, I'm probably not going to, because there are thousands of podcasts where you can watch them. I won't bring you people you necessarily know. These won't be people who are accomplished authors or business people or politicians. These are everyday, ordinary people who you would walk right past in the mall and not pay any attention, but whose life story is something you and I can learn from. I've got a fairly big community, so I don't need guests to grow my community. I want guests to help my community members grow. And so I'm going to bring you people who will help you grow. And today's idea, I think, is going to be very interesting. Please meet Cassim. Brother Walker.
How you doing, Dizzy?
How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Happy to be here.
A bit nervous?
A little bit.
Yeah?
My first time, but definitely meeting one of the greats, but I'm enjoying it.
So let's get started with it. Mm-hmm. There's a Caribbean accent there.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, I originally born in St. Kitts and Nevis. That's a Caribbean island, one of the smaller ones, nonetheless produce, great people like me, right? But I grew up there and lived there until the age of 12, right? And then my sister and I, we moved out to New York City where my mom was already. So she left 5 years prior just to get things set up so we can get out there. And so then we move out to New York City from there.
I want to just start there. Mm-hmm. So until you're 12 years old, you're in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yes.
There are a number of Caribbean islands. Mm-hmm. For those in the conversation who don't know them, just tell us a bit about some of them.
Well, some of the nearby islands you would think of would be like St. Vincent, St. Lucia, St. Martin, St. Bart's. You got the Virgin Islands. Of course. You could go further down and you end up into Grenada, Dominica, Trinidad, the whole works of it.
How many islands are there?
Roughly, you probably could look at about 12, 13 islands, major islands. But within those islands, there are smaller, islands because, for example, like St. Kitts is the bigger one and you have Nevis. Antigua would be Antigua, but then they have Barbuda. They also have 2 other private islands that most celebrities live on. So there's multiple islands between the Caribbean.
Of course, the history of the Caribbean is rich because the Caribbean islands was really where kind of the warehousing and distribution took place of slaves.
Slaves, right? No, that's
who were
true.
being migrated from West Africa into what would then be either Southern America or North America.
Right.
Have you ever done one of those like tests where you trek back to see where you came from?
It's funny you said that. Yes, I did. A few years ago, I was just, I don't know, curiosity sometimes hit us, right? So I did the ancestry test. And, I just wanted to see where my roots were, right? We look it up and, you had like 35% Nigerian, and then we have some Germany in us and stuff like that. My great-great-grandfather was a white man. That's where we get the Walker from. And then my great-great-grandmother was Nigerian. So between them, they produced the half-white kids, and that's where we get the Walker.
Do you know if it was a relationship of consent?
Yes, it was.
Of mutual consent?
Yes, it was. Yes,
it would have been a controversial relationship at the time.
It probably could have. I mean, definitely. I mean, they had a few kids, amongst them. So during the ancestry test, you were able to see that like 14% of my DNA. Go back to Scotland and, Germany and stuff like that. So
I would have loved to be in the room with your great-great-grandmother and your great-great-grandfather. You've got this like rules-driven, stochastic, kind of like disciplined German mindset. With this like fervent, vibrant Nigerian, man, that would have been something.
No, definitely.
Could you imagine the debates? Your great-grandmother definitely won all of them.
I'm pretty sure she did. But it was very interesting just learning, the family history from like my grandmother and stuff like that, just to really understand your background. So for me, doing that test kind of revealed, a lot because, most times we're not aware of, where we come from and what makes up our DNA.
You said at 12 years old, you moved to New York.
Yeah.
But you mentioned your mom, not your dad. So tell me a bit about that transition.
The crazy thing is, my mom had me at a young age.
Right.
How
young is young?
I would say at age 16.
Wow.
Right. So she had to kind of fend for herself, at that age. And you could just imagine a 16-year-old, right, having a kid. So, it's always been me and her for some time. At least 6, 7 years difference between me and my sister. So, like she always said, we always ride it out together. Interestingly enough, sometimes when I do go back to St. Kitts and you hear stories of friends of hers that we used to have to sleep under. They used to have to sneak her in their house.
Wow.
While the parents are sleeping so that we can sleep on the floor.
Wow.
You know, just touching, man. It's always been like a struggle for her to get there. So I really appreciate my mom for that.
So out back, why would your mom have been in that situation? Where were her parents?
Her mom were in Puerto Rico, I guess, trying to, start the whole train of us how we got into New York.
The US, sure.
So she was left there and left with friends,
Wow.
So it's crazy, right? Because the village raised her, right? And then the village raised me. So you're literally just a product of your mom, your parents. And people say this, but you don't believe it. But if you go to St. Kitts and you go to the village that we came from, I'm very much loved in that village. But that's because I grew up between so many different families. When she's busy working, this family has me today, that family had me today, and that family had me today. And the reason why I'm saying different families, because my side of the family, we migrated a long time out of St. Kitts. So my mom, myself, my sister, and maybe one of the cousins were the only set of Walkers left there. So if you go there, there's no Walker's a strange last name there. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me about that moving to New York. So, because I imagine St. Kitts, I've never been. I've done British Virgin Islands, I've done Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica,
right.
St. Bots, which is where all of the celebrities go.
Right, and that's close by, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where Jeff Bezos did the whole park his yacht thing.
Yes.
But I've never done St. Kitts nor Nevis. And I wanted to understand, so I imagine having experienced that kind of Caribbean life.
Right.
It's very laid back. It's like that Stella got her groove back thing.
You're right. It is. I mean, after living in New York City for so long, you could definitely see the difference in lifestyle, right? I mean, it's a huge difference in lifestyle, especially being in the city, right? I'm a city boy. So, moving from St. Kitts and then going to New York, it definitely was a lot to undertake, right? Because it's a city life, and but nonetheless, you had to adjust to it. And I'll give you a funny story.
Yeah.
When I signed up for high school, the first day my mom took me to high school to show me where it was. The second day on the train, which don't normally happen, it missed my stop. So I was stuck now, not knowing where to go. About to break down crying, because I'm like, well, how do we get home? Cell phones wasn't the big thing back then. And it just so happened, I looked through the crowd and I saw one of my uncle. I have an uncle that's not just like 1 or 2 years older than me. And I saw one of his friends, and I never felt so good to see another man, at the time, because I ran over to him and hugged him and like, yeah, could you please take me home? And he's like, yeah, I'll show you where it is, So it was definitely adjustment in that
This
lifestyle.
was in New York?
This was in New York.
On the underground in New York?
Underground.
Man, that's brutal.
Yeah, it
That's
definitely
scary as an adult experience in the New York underground.
Right. So you could just imagine what that was like, So the adjustment was definitely felt. You could, different from the island lifestyle to moving to the city lifestyle.
I'm trying to understand a bit about that early life and how that's framed the way you think about the world. So you go from the small island where the village raises you.
Right.
And now you're in what is literally the concrete jungle.
Right.
I almost want to say, I think the term is coined after New York, right?
It is.
It's concrete jungle where dreams are made of. It's got that whole kind of brutal, what's the word? Steely, almost inhumane touch to it. Like New York is, you fend for yourself. No one's coming to save you.
Well, it's funny you say that, right? Because I appreciate my years in both places. Even though New York City is where I kind of spent most of my life, right? But as an island boy, you learn to appreciate the hardships in life, right? And that's what you were taught, that the hardships in life make due of what you have, and in the city life now, like you said, it's embrace your struggles. It's do or die. You know what I mean? Sink or swim. And so I was able to blend the appreciation of stretching it, right? And then the appreciation of that hustle. And when you combine those two together, kind of intertwines and make you the person that you are today.
You just said something which I just want to pause on. You said embrace your struggle.
Yeah.
So in other words, don't complain about it.
No.
And don't rebuke it.
No.
But make it a part of you.
Make it a part of you. Make it a part of you. It's deep.
Man.
It's deep. It's
Man. Deep. You're now in New York, you go to school. Mm-hmm. Were you like an academic kind of kid?
It's funny because I always say I'm not, right? But I've performed, I'm the B's, the A's, I've gotten those. But I never really coined myself as an academic kind of person.
Sure.
However, I read a lot. Mm. And over the years, I've learned a lot, right? So I guess now I'll probably consider myself that, but at that point in time in those school days, nah. I was always that wonder kid, always curious, always stretching things. My mom beat me a lot for that.
Really?
Oh yeah. She talks about it a lot now. She apologizes now.
Tell me a bit about that, because just double click on that for me. So because let me project a little bit, and then I want you to tell me how what I'm about to say sounds to you.
Okay.
My experience with immigrant parents tends to be that they sacrifice so much just for the experience of migration. So for the immigrant parent, success isn't making $1 million when they get to the other side.
Right.
It's just being able to settle and to raise good children.
There you go.
So it's been my experience that a lot of the children of immigrant parents are almost taught, stay in the lane, don't break the rules, don't stand out, because we are outsiders here, blend in perfectly.
Right.
And so you'd be coming with this like, but why is it done that way? And I want to do it differently type of thing.
Yeah. And she's rooted back to many things in my life that always show that I'm always either challenging things. I remember one time clearly where she told me not to have a party in the house. So what I did instead was I had to get together. So
what's the difference there?
I invited friends over. We sit. We're gonna sit. The music is a little bit down low. And I remember when my friends left, she's like, "I told you not to have a party." I said, "I didn't. I had to get together." And she was like,
"That's good. That's good.
Well, I'm gonna kill you."
Just hold on. Take me to that party. What were you playing? Was it like LPs or was it like a radio? Was it like a stereo?
We had the radio with the cassettes back then.
The cassette tape.
Yeah.
Young people won't know nothing about that now.
We had a little Biggie and stuff playing there, so we try to keep it cool while you're enjoying it. But she comes on,
so you probably had like some Run DMC,
all that,
the OPP or something like that.
All that we're playing. And,
I like that.
And she was just like, she's like, and we joke about this a lot now because. Being an entrepreneur and stuff like that, you could see the details back then that kind of created who you are today. So, but what I would tell you as my mom is that she wasn't really that much academic, right? And for some reason, she didn't put that pressure on me. And today, I think that it was a blessing, right? Because then you didn't have this standard to kind of live up to on that end. Everything I tried, she supported it, not even knowing what it is. I remember when I left high school, I was supposed to go to college, and I was like, "Mom, forget college. I'm heading to Wall Street." And she's like, "Okay." She had no idea what it is, but she just supported, whatever it was about.
Tell me about that. So you finish high school, you decide you're not going to college, which for an immigrant child in the United States is a tough call.
It is.
Because for a lot of immigrant parents, that's almost built into the system.
The expectation.
Right. And it's not only you're going to go to college, but it's also there are very few careers, right? You're not, again, my exposure, limited albeit, is like, you're not going to college to study, dramatic arts. You're going to college to be an engineer, a doctor, a scientist, a computer scientist, or commerce, accounting, something like this.
Right.
So not only did you not do those disciplines, but you didn't go to college at all.
At all.
So what did you do after high school?
Well, in my last year of high school, and if you look at my yearbook now, it would say that I want to be a graphic designer. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to be. I just put something down, graphic designer. But in my last year of high school, we had something what you call a Kurt Thomas challenge.
Right.
He was a basketball player in the New York Knicks, and they gave you like a fake $100,000 account to different schools around the country. and you had to compete to see who can turn that $100,000 into more.
Right.
Right. We came third. So I'm like, wait a minute. So you're telling me that your money could make money? Because you're not, like, again, coming from the Caribbean, you're not learning these things. So I'm like, wait, your money can make money. You know what? So when I'm lying and looking up, I'm like, Wall Street, what is Wall Street? And start learning about it. I'm like, good, that's where I'm going. Right? So I told my mom, like, Mom, forget about college. I'm going to Wall Street. My friends who went to college, they all did. And I told them I'm going to work twice as hard as them. Right? And they're like, you sure? I'm like, yeah. And then I went to Wall Street.
How did that go? I mean, I can't imagine you just walk down the street and you're like, hey, I'm Cassim, I need a job. Yeah.
No, I actually applied online. They gave me a call. I came in for the interview. I believe it or not, right? Maybe now it has changed, but back then, Wall Street is built on kids that's hungry. So if a college kid and a kid that is hungry go for that same job, the kid that's hungry is going to get
the
job.
Ah.
Because that's what it's about. Right? It's the hustle.
Ah.
And I got the job based on, again, my background. Not having anything, not coming from much. So when I got the position, I was taught for 6 months on rebuttals, how to always overcome no. So you call clients and they tell you, we can't invest any money with you, and you convince them to send the money to you.
Beautiful.
So
you were doing cold calls?
Cold calling. 2,000 calls a day.
2,000 calls a day?
2,000 calls a day.
So what are you working? Let's say 10 hours, that's 200 calls an hour.
Yeah. You have to, every time
so you're on the phone all the time?
All the time. All the time. You cannot, the bosses didn't really appreciate the conversations, the calls to be made. And I'll give you a great experience from that. I remember one time I convinced a guy to invest $300,000, and he did. And I remember, like, a few months later, we lost all the money. And my boss said to me, go and make that call and convince him to send you more. I went into the bathroom and I'm like, but how do you call someone and tell them that you lose their money and then they have to send you more? Nonetheless, I went in and I did it. And he did send more money. And from that point on, I knew that, man, there's something, there's a calling somewhere for me.
How did you know, what did you say?
I convinced him that the timing was wrong, but the path was correct. So
hold on, I need to download that.
Yeah.
Say what you just said and say it slower. The timing was wrong.
The timing was wrong.
But the path was right.
The path was right. You know what I mean? So, and it did pan out. It actually did. The story did end in a positive way, because it did pan out. And he became a client of mine, and we ended up, had relationships like that. But, I mean, who prepares you for something like that, right? Who prepares you for, because no one gave me the script, right? So you have to go in there and you have to tell the guy, look, I lost your money. But in that conversation, I was able to thought of it and I said, look, I'm sorry, but the timing was wrong. But I guarantee you the path that we're on with this direction of the company that we're thinking about investing in, that is correct.
There's something I want to understand there, because before you make the call to him, you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
There's a conversation that Mr. Walker is having with Mr. Walker.
Yeah.
And you are both audience member as well as moderator and facilitator of the conversation.
Yes.
Run me through that conversation. What are you saying to you?
I'm saying that it's unfair. I didn't personally lose the money, so it's unfair. Why do I have to make that call? Right? I should just quit. I should leave. And then I said to myself, but what if you call them and they do send the money? Then what does that say about you? Right? And it's funny because your whole entrepreneurial journey is always that two minds is playing around with you.
100%.
Yeah, it's always playing around with you. And people who probably is not on this path won't get it, but if you're on this path, you're always between minds. So I was between that mind, but then I was always curious to see, can you really do it? And after you did that, then everything else became like just habit.
It's unfair, but somebody has to make that call.
Somebody's made that call.
That kind of summarizes it.
Yeah.
That kind of summarizes
So
it.
it does. It does.
Yeah. Do you feel like a big part of your life has been just understanding that you you don't always get dealt fair?
Yes, yes. And if you go back to a little bit, just talk back a little bit to my past. While living in the Caribbean, I always felt like it was unfair that my friends had shoes and clothes and I didn't have any.
I get that.
So I was very much upset with my mom because you're in the United States,
Yeah.
and I'm down there, and it's like, man, that's unfair,
Yeah.
right? But when you came to New York City, and then I saw her struggles, it was real. So I was like, you know what? It is unfair, but I do understand her struggles. So I've always had to become that person that's understanding.
Was Mom struggling in New York when you arrived?
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. I had to witness that. You know, okay. There was a time where she wasn't able to pay the bills, but she used to always give me lunch money. I never used to eat lunch. She didn't know that. I wasn't eating the lunch. I was actually saving the money. So one day when she had to pay that bill, I had the money. And she never asked where I got it from. Could have been drugs. Could have been I stole it. She never asked. Right? And I gave her that money so that she was able to pay that bill. So as a young person, you know, being put through those different circumstances, always having to understand certain things, always having to be able to rise, always having to be able to step up, deliver. You know, she didn't put the pressure on me, but as her son, I undertook that task.
You've really ministered to me with this idea that it's not fair, but somebody has to make that call. I think we live in a generation today where, for whatever reason, we've become so soft that we think we are owed fair.
Yes.
That the odds have got to be in our favor. Or at the very least, the odds have got to be even.
Yes.
But actually, if you study history and study people who've made it in history, you realize that the reason their story is worth a page in the book of history is precisely because unfair was in the equation.
Of course.
Right? So,
I agree.
So it's like a download lesson for a lot of us.
Yeah.
I think it was Lewis Hamilton that says, I don't need it to be, what did he say? I don't need it to be easy.
Yeah.
I just need it to be possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always loved that quote.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right? Yeah. So, it's going to be difficult. He's like, I don't need it to be easy. I just need it to be. Are you a movie guy?
I live with that. Yeah.
Right. So there's Mission Impossible. I think it's Anthony Hopkins. Is it? I think it's Anthony Hopkins, or whomever it is that plays like that character that gives the instruction to Tom Cruise and Ving Rhames and the Mission Impossible team. Yeah. And he's explaining to Tom Cruise how he's got to break into this bank. And he goes, listen, you got to do this and do this, and you got to break this, da-da-da-da-da-da. And Tom Cruise looks at this whole thing and goes, that's going to be difficult.
Right.
And then the voice says, yeah, but this isn't mission difficult, it's mission impossible. And he says, mission difficult should be a walk in the park for you.
Yeah, right. No, this is good.
So you're out on Wall Street. I imagine now what happens is this. So you're out on Wall Street, you become, very successful kind of salesperson / stockbroker.
Yep.
You make the millions, you buy the house out at the Hamptons, you get the private jet, you have a second house out somewhere in the Caribbean islands. Yeah, and life is easy. Is that what happened?
That sounds like the perfect picture. I will take that. You know? But no, that's not what happened. Right, the struggles always continue. From that job, just a change in career. Went to FedEx.
How do you go from selling stocks to Federal Express?
It's funny you said that. There was a situation where I had a client, and we had 3 bosses, right? And two of the bosses were in agreement of me kind of finessing this client. One of the bosses was against it. He felt like I'm wasting my time, but I felt like this guy is a big fish. That's what we refer to them. Like, this guy is a guy that can invest a lot of money. He felt like that's a waste of time. So he always just picked on me every day. Now, 5 months later, this guy sends over $1 million pounds. So all of our clients were in the UK.
Right.
So he sends over $1 million, and I'm excited, right? Because my commission is going to be crazy, right? As a young guy. And then he said, "No, you're not going to have this." And I'm like, "But you were one that was against this." And he's like, "Yeah, you're not going to have it." And at the time, I just renewed my contract. And because of that, you couldn't go back into another financial institution.
Ah, right.
You could get sued for
Right.
the money that they've invested in you up until that point.
Right.
So I had to go into something that had nothing to do with
Financial
finance.
services.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
So I had
It's funny how God works. He just directs you, right?
Yeah.
So you end up with a job at FedEx.
I got a job at FedEx, opening doors, right, 4 days before my birthday. Within 9 months, became an assistant manager. Few months after that, became a manager. I'll give you a funny story about that. The first time I went to Texas to the corporate office, I was pulled out of the classroom because they thought they made a mistake. At that time, most of the managers were older, in the 40s, 50s, stuff like that. But here's this 20, 21-year-old guy in between all those. So they pulled me out of the class and they said, I think we made a mistake with you. And they called New York City and they verified, that's the guy. That's the guy. And they were like, well, how old are you? You know? So it was funny because from that point on, you just continue to keep rising.
So you're now at FedEx, you're a manager. Big, I imagine you got your, what American? Your 401k. Gotta have the 401k.
I have to have the 401k.
What's the song? You gotta have a JOB.
Yeah.
If you want to be with me.
Yeah. The funny song, but yeah.
Right. So what happens at the stage in your life now? Are you settled? Are you a family man? Are you a dad? Are you married? What's your, where are you at?
At that point, not yet. Maybe at 23, then, finally got my son.
Right.
My son came into the picture and then he made the fight even more. Right? Because now you want to give what you didn't have as a growing up as a kid. So from that, the journey just continues, man. I just keep moving from manager to manager. They keep testing me from location to location to really see if you're really that kind of guy that produces. I remember the last time before they moved me, I was in a location that was close to winning what you call like the President Award. This is the award that most managers want to get to, like the pinnacle. And I'm in that location and I'm about to win. And then an email came in that says, we're going to move you. And I'm like, you work hard to get here, now you guys are going to move me.
Sure.
Right? And in my phone today, I still have that message that I sent to the corporate, asking them like it's unfair that I've done so many things to be here. And now that I'm about to reach this level, it's now stripped from me and I have to now go and start over again to impress you guys.
There's that word again, unfair.
Yeah, right. So I went to that new location. It was the second to last in the company. And just fast forward it. I went to St. Kitts to look after the business. Got a call from my sister. And I saw many emails coming in. Congratulations. And I'm like, what's going on? So the call from my sister was like, you did it. I was like, did what? She's like, the scores just came in and you won the award.
Wow.
And that award allows the company to take you to whatever island that they choose to go to. And
Beautiful.
The win.
Like a reward, eh?
A reward, yeah.
Like a reward trip. I like those.
It becomes a big deal in the company, right? You're President Award winner. Put some respect on your name.
100%. That goes in your CV too, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a big deal. But that was, my journey there in FedEx. And then,
what I'm curious is, I know you as an entrepreneur. So there's the story of you, the child growing up in the Caribbean islands, the move to the US, finding your own identity, growing up in that community, deciding not to go to college, rather take on a different route. So you're already a rule breaker.
right.
But you're a rule breaker who can thrive within the system, because even at a corporate, you can still succeed.
Yes.
Right. Which tells me you have the ability to hunt as a lion.
Yes.
But when necessary, you can behave like a lamb as well.
Yes.
Right. How do you go, okay, now I'm in the space, I'm in the safety and the comfort of a corporate, I'm going to leave all this and I'm going to start my own business. In my experience, there are typically three circumstances that necessitate or drive somebody towards the path of being an entrepreneur. It's either they come from a family of entrepreneurs and they had buried that, and they get to a stage in their life where they go, let me see. And they're like a child who jumps into the pool for the first time. They're genuinely experimenting to see if that which is in the DNA of the family also is in their DNA. Right. The second, which is the most common, is actually, I've learned most entrepreneurs, and 15 years doing what I do now, working with entrepreneurs, thousands of entrepreneurs I've mentored and worked with, most entrepreneurs actually aren't design entrepreneurs. They default entrepreneurs. They don't make the decisions.
Right.
It's like something happens, they go, well, I've got to survive, right? Which is not the story that's often told. Right? The story is the founder who starts an idea, goes and raises money, builds a team, and then makes $1 billion.
Right.
But most entrepreneurs aren't that. It's like, it's a mistake.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, I need to put food on the table, so I might as well do something. Right? And then the third type of entrepreneur is the one who goes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to stop everything, and here's what I'm going to focus on. So of those three, are you the DNA, default, or design guy?
I think a blend.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a blend, to be honest with you. After winning the award in FedEx, the highest award in FedEx, that's a big deal. The end of the year, we were going to get a raise, right? And in my mind, I'm like, my raise is going to be crazy, right? Because you won the highest award, which means you've knocked out all the metrics.
Yeah.
Well, I got a call from another manager that performed poorly and told me that their raise were higher than my raise. Now, I'm not the type of person that complains, but I'm the type of person that would pivot very calmly, the lamb mode. And so at that point, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to complain about the way that things are done. I'm going to create my own path. And then I went on, started thinking about opening a daycare until when I visited St. Kitts with my cousin in 2014, and we came back, and then he said to me, you should start a business there. And I'm like, no, for what? It's a slow place. New York City's opportunity. Let's do that. But nonetheless, he told me it's a cleaning business, and you know, I did my homework, my due diligence, and found out that there was an opportunity there. So while being at the job and dealing with FedEx, I was also working on that on the outside. Now, here's the crazy part about it. Every training that I went to, and they teach you certain things like how to greet the customer, you know, hey, welcome to FedEx. I would put in my book, welcome to CleanRight. So I started just being in the training and rather focusing on them now. Even though I'm still maintaining, it was about me.
Sure.
So you made a decision to go there because of the circumstances that created you in that opportunity. However, I didn't make the decision to leave FedEx on my own. And that was due to my commitment to my employees at the time. But after FedEx let me go, I had no choice.
You'd be very surprised. By the way, very common story for all of you guys. You'd be very surprised how many people who've made a success in business didn't volunteer themselves for that. It's often people who are, the most common is retrenchment, actually. It's often people who've worked in a place, given many years to it, and for whatever reason, the corporate changes the strategy and they just decide this person is no longer of use. Or that department or that role, and then this person goes, well, then I'll go use my skills elsewhere. And they start thinking about, how do I use my skills for myself?
Right.
And they become a weapon.
Yes.
Right. Because now you've had 10 years of learning under somebody else's budget. You attended every training, you got every certificate. So you understand how to run a business, how to build a P&L, how to hire people, how to fire people, how to get product, how to do marketing, how to do logistics, how to do legal, how to do sales. You're a weapon.
Yeah.
Right?
Deadly.
And you've been trained in somebody else's school.
Yes.
And now you get to open your own school. There is a question though, and then I want to talk a bit about that journey of starting your business. There's a question I got to ask. So typically when you're starting a business, you want to get into the space where there's the biggest market size with the largest opportunity. You were in the US,
right,
where everybody was trying to go, but you went to a small island.
Right.
That's counterintuitive for me. Why did you do that? I mean, apart from your cousin saying there's a real opportunity. That's the first question, and I want you to answer both of these together. The second question is, and why cleaning? It's like, it's so odd, right? You've gone from stockbroker to FedEx to cleaner. I mean, were you intentional about the regression analysis? What's the?
I mean, not at all, right? But I've had time to kind of look back on my past, and I'm talking about going way back into my St. Kitts years. And I realized that even when I played sports, because I played all the sports, I've always got rid of the sport that I've come second in. Only stuck to the one that I came
first in.
First.
Gotcha.
So if you think about it, the same thing. Being in New York, of course you can start a business there. But look who you're competing with.
Sure.
Right? Why not go down to a pond where, I'm playing in the sandbox by myself. Right? So you bring that skill, that competitiveness, and you go to a place where it's more relaxed.
So you go to St. Kitts, I imagine you get your business license. Of course, you are a citizen because you're a native. You can start operating immediately.
Yeah.
You come up with the name Clean Right, and you go, that's it, I'm in business.
Yeah.
So you just, what happened? You just get like your first 100 customers, made $1 million?
I wish I did. Well, first of all, the Clean Right name, we were trying to figure out a name, right?
Right.
But you don't want to start a business that people have to guess. Right, do the guesswork, especially early on. So while driving in New York City, there's a laundromat. I stopped right by the stoplight, and it's the laundromat that just says Clean Right. I'm like, simple, straight to the point. Clean Right it is, right? And you went down to the islands and you start the business. However, as an entrepreneur, you always believe that people are gonna embrace things and see the light like you do, right?
Yeah.
So you're excited and
100%.
You start this business, and I'm going into the banks, and I'm here to start this business. I'm gonna employ people. Can I get a loan? And they're like, no, right? Cleaning wasn't really the path that I wanted to take, but I'm a kind of person that follows opportunity, though, because early on I said to you I was going to go into the daycare. I'm not a teacher, right? But I'm always able to identify where the opportunity is and then add my skill set to it.
So you and your cousin, as it was, identified cleaning as the thing to do.
The cleaning thing to do.
And you then decide you're going to start this business.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about those. So I have a theory. You define a business by the first 90 days, by the first 999 days, and then by the first shareholder fight. Right. Those are the three things that define a business.
That's right.
If you can survive the first 3 months without losing your mind and going back to what you know, you'll be okay. If you can survive the first 3 years, those 999 days, then you'll build a business for your children, for sure, my experience. And if you can survive the first shareholder fight, then whomever it is that stays after that, those are people that are going to stay in the business.
Well, and it's funny that you said that, because when we start the business, I first have to identify what game am I going to play.
Yeah.
Right? So and that means, are you competing on just the cleaning, quality stuff?
Yeah.
Or what is the game?
100%.
Right? And I realized that after my research, reliability was my game.
Right.
So everything was designed around being reliable.
Right.
Right. Everything that we built was about being reliable. So we did that. And of course it was tough. To this day, the pay schedule for the Clean Right follows and mimics FedEx. Because when we got paid from FedEx, we both poured our paycheck into the business.
Beautiful.
So it mimics it. So it's like, we get paid, hand it over.
Got you.
Right? But it did get tough. It did get tough, right? Because you start something and you believe it's going to happen, but it never goes the way you imagine. I have services today that I didn't thought of in the beginning. We did that, and my cousin kind of lost hope. Because when you look at your financials and you're in the red, you just continue, you just spending,
pouring money,
and for him was like, man, I can't keep doing this.
I got you.
Right? But for me, I felt like, man, we came this far. And we did do the due diligence before we started. So there is opportunity. Back to what we talk about. Timing. But the path was right.
Again, just pause on that, because there's something there, that moment, right? So there's this moment where you've come from the safety of a FedEx. You can see what the business is going to be, but it's not that yet.
No.
So there's that space between. And in that space between, you've taken your money and you've invested it in the business. Your cousin has done the same.
Yes.
Most entrepreneurs, if you're watching this, I've never seen a business that follows the Excel spreadsheet projections. Okay, Excel lies.
Right.
Because you put in the assumptions. Right. So on Excel, from month one, you're making $1 million, and then it just goes up like this.
That's right.
In reality, it's a big hockey stick. Right. It's a lot of money into the business first.
Right.
Before you get to yield anything out.
Yeah.
And so what you're describing was that hockey stick time. Right.
Yeah.
You guys were putting in the money.
Right.
And what a lot of entrepreneurs also don't get is that's also the time when you're working the most.
It is.
Right?
It is.
So it's counterintuitive to the world of work you come from, because in the world of work you come from, you work and get paid.
Right.
Here you're working and you're paid.
And you're paid
it's like,
at the same time.
I'm not sure about all this.
It is tough. It is tough. But to what you just said just now, we didn't create a business plan. And so on a business plan, it could be good, but it also could raise your hope.
Yeah.
So what we did is we just went based on current moment, right? So you only consider past And that's probably what scared him, right? Because the past says red, 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 red.
Yes.
Where there wasn't any outline of hope. So, you know, so and that sometimes could scare someone off of it. But I stood on track and keep going.
So he pulls out of the business, and you keep going.
I keep going.
Now, did you keep going because you believed, or did you keep going because there was nothing else?
Great question. Right? Because my mind is juggling, but I kept going because of belief.
Come on.
I kept going.
Is that really true?
Deep down, you believe in it. But then the other part of it is that there's no other way. There's no other way. You're fired from your job. You've put so much into this. So you have to become, now, like you said, now the lion mode. Right? Everything that you've learned over these past years, you got to tap into that.
But this time you've got children.
This time I have children.
So tell me about how Cassim shows up as a dad when...
Sacrifice, you know, as much time wasn't given to them. And what made me push even more is a story that I can give you where you have no money, barely have dreams and hope of what could really happen, no idea of what can happen. And you go to your friends and you said, guys, can I borrow $30? Now I'm picking up $5 from each person because I don't want no one to really get the essence of...
Hold on. You go to your friends and you're borrowing $5.
Yeah. So I can make up to the $30.
What do you need $30 for?
Take them to the movies. Because you're so absent as a father. So you try to cling on to anything that can make them feel your presence. Right? But how do you go from having a little something and they kind of aware of other ways that we've celebrated before to now experiencing where you're fighting for $30, you're sharing a popcorn between three of you, right? They want their individual thing, and I'm now selling them, right? I'm convincing them, like, guys, when we go home, we're gonna have food, you know, we don't need this. But really and truly, I was hiding behind my pain. I was embarrassed that you couldn't do it, you know, as a father. So no one really understands that type of low that you feel. I mean, it's one thing that I was putting myself through the struggle, but when you watch your kids, man, like $30. Mine, it wasn't 100, it's $30. Couldn't do it. Borrowed $5 from each friend so that, you know, the blow was a little bit small. I felt like if I owed, you know, $5 is not that much. So $5 between the different people to make up to $30, that's the type of struggle that you had to go through.
Man.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you empathize with your mother. And when you experienced her struggle in New York, no?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. I mean, and she also saw it, you know. I remember one day I asked her for $20, and normally she'll give me, but you were so deep in debt, so deep in struggle, that she's like, I can't give you $20 if you're going to go and put it into the business.
Wow.
You know, I could give you the $20 if you're going to get something to eat, but I can't give it to you because you're chasing this dream, man, and look at what it's doing to you. So you could only imagine that pain, and most people can't imagine like what it takes to get here. Yeah.
I'm just listening to this. I'm as a father choking up because I'm thinking about, you know, putting your kids through that is tough.
Oh, yeah.
You know. And one of the things about children is that we think they can't see, they can. Have your kids ever reminded you of that specific event?
Not to me specifically.
Yeah.
But I went to my friends and they said, Dad is broke.
No.
Dad is broke because we had to share popcorn.
I want to understand kind of, so that the business at this stage is still crawling. It itself is another child.
Yes.
That you have to feed and nurture and help grow. Or rather, let me ask the question this way. How did you not give up on that child? Because this child is now causing pain for your actual children.
Well, because of kept strict financials, even though you weren't there, you still see the opportunity, right? So you start seeing your revenue go up, your expenses, is now starting to become a little bit below your revenue.
Gotcha.
So hope start kicking in, right?
I like that.
And you're just betting on that horse, like, I'm there, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But when you have the struggles of your kids, partner leaving you, business manager leaving you, you're, like I said, you're at the lowest moment, When the opportunity came that I saw that could be a turning point, and I went to all my friends and I needed about $7,000, right? I took out some credit cards and I decided I'm not going to pay back, right? Because I understood that, after having a card for 7 years, it falls off the credit, right? So I'm like, so, like I said, the entrepreneurial mindset is that you're just trying to find opportunities, right? So I took the credit card, borrowed money from friends. They all gave me a warning about, please stop, right? And it didn't come from the fact that I can't do it, but concern of how deep you're going in this thing, man. Like your whole year and a half, you're struggling. I would be honest with you about something. I remember I had a car, and I used to hide my car in different garage because the repo was looking for the car.
Been there.
Right?
Been
so
there,
you
preach it.
Yeah, so you go through those different struggles that most people don't know that you have to, and the pain that you have to endure to do that. But there was an opportunity that came up, and I thought that this opportunity could be the opportunity. So, and I was very much convinced, and I've convinced all my friends, like, look, if you can give me the money, I promise something's going to become of this. And they all gave me a warning, and my mom went to my friends and she told them, could you guys please tell him to stop? And they came to me and they said, you have to stop. And my kid's mom said to me, please, you gotta stop. And everyone is saying you gotta stop, and I'm the only one that's saying, this last bet, just one more bet.
One more.
That one bet.
And did you take the bet?
Took the bet.
How did it turn out?
That bet changed everything.
Unbelievable.
That one bet changed everything to this day.
Wow.
Right? You didn't have to worry about the $30 anymore.
Wow.
But and it was the best feeling. I think when you saw your account went from your negatives and all that stuff, and you have a couple $100,000, man, I went to a restaurant on my own. Ordered some lobsters.
What was the first thing you did?
Yeah, lobster and shrimps, and I have a whole meal. And the guy's like, "Who's with you?" And I'm like, "No one but me.
It's just me."
Just me. So that was the celebration.
Did you eat that lobster slow?
Everything was slow. I took my time. I had to taste that. Right?
You tasted now.
I tasted everything, So it's like you enjoy that, but that was a turning point, man. And it was a great feeling. Everyone around me was just so much impacted, man. There was just like we were literally looking at a movie.
All right. So here's the question. This is what I want you to share with everybody who's going to be watching this podcast. If I look at your life, it's pretty clear that struggle is a part of the narrative.
Yes.
Right? And there are some people for whom struggle is a phase. They have a stage in their life where they struggle, and then they get back to whatever normal was. But from when we started, to arc back now 45 minutes ago when we started this conversation, you are born into a place of struggle by a parent who can't care for you.
Right.
You are raised in an environment of struggle by circumstances that can't care for you.
Right.
And so the village has to take on that responsibility. You migrate into a country and you find your mother in struggle, and you've got to survive in that space.
Right.
You don't go to college and you find a job where you've got to struggle to prove yourself. And as you build your life and build your career, you kind of pull back into this place of struggle, and you've got to start a business.
Okay.
And the place you had left behind, God sends you back to, and He says, I want you to go and struggle there again. Right? In all of these struggles, there has to be a conversation that you're having with you. When your own mother says, enough, stop. And what a lot of people who've never been in that situation don't understand is that it's one thing when somebody says don't do something because they know you're capable of it and they're scared of who you would become if you achieved it. It's quite another when somebody says don't do something because they love you and care for you and they can see that even though you're driven to do it, it's going to hurt, right? And so when your mother says don't, that's going to be hard to hear.
Of course.
When friends who care for you say don't, it's got to be hard to hear.
Right.
But you've been hearing don't from the boss who said don't make that phone call, to the cousin who said don't continue with the business. What is the idea at the back of your mind that keeps you going when the world says don't?
I'm going to give you one word. But before I give you that word, I'm going to say that during that tough time, I don't know who you are, where you came from, but I saw you on YouTube. And some of the things that you were saying were bringing comfort to the pain that I was in. It's like someone understood me. So I kept looking at your videos and looking at your videos and looking at your videos, and that helped me to just provide like that guidance, right? The one word I'm going to give you is why. Why? Why all this? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why? There's a movie, I'm not sure if you've seen it, called Unbroken. And in Unbroken, there was a specific part that spoke to me where the plane was shot down and 3 guys were in the raft, right? And they start portioning out their foods, right? And they said to each other, we have to portion this out. We don't know how long we're going to be on sea. The first guy said, you know, he's hungry, right? He ate all that one night, only one night. By the morning, he ate all the food. The other 2 had a picture of their family, right? Every morning they look at their family, they look at their family, they look at their family. Only 2 guys survived that.
Sure.
The one that died was the one that, 1, showed selfishness because he ate the food the following day. 2, he had no pictures of his family. There was no why. For me, seeing that, it spoke to me because my why is my family and my friends, right? I had to be that example. I had to be that example for them to now be able to believe that they can do the things that they probably want to do. When we're conditioned, like you said, coming from the Caribbean and these different things, and when you're conditioned to not fight or just fit into the confines of whatever is set there, that's just how we proceed with life, right? But when you have someone that you grew up with, you know their story, you're seeing their pain, their struggle, and then they come to this level that I'm at now, it sends a big message. Every one of my mom friends, kids that is trying to do nails or hair, whatever it is, my mom is like, they can do that business. Let them do it. Why? Because I was that example.
I like that.
You know? So my friends that's around, I mean, they're trying different things. One of my friends is opening a restaurant and all this stuff. We went to school together. Again, why? The inspiration. So that one word, why? The why was bigger than me.
I love that. I love that. It's that Biggie line, and she loves to show me off. Of course.
Of course, yeah.
Smiles every time my face is up in the sauce.
Right? It's Biggie. It's the Biggie.
Yeah,
and that's
I like
true.
that.
That's true. So it boils down to that as an entrepreneur. If you could identify your why, right, and hold that close to you, I think that you could overcome many situations, right? Because you always got to keep looking back as to, what that is. For me, leaving my kids and being in the Caribbean, I fight because I wanted them to know that when I'm down there, I'm building something. So the first time my son came and saw the business, I was like, wow. I think he was probably like 9 or so when I started. My daughter was probably like 2, and then now being able to see that, it just gives me joy, right? Because you weren't the dad that was missing and outplaying. You were the dad that was missing
and outbuilding.
And then the fact that we can go on vacation and go on trips So we're getting that time together. I mean, the why, man, the why. So why is what I want to end this with. Is like that was the real driving force behind the whole thing.
I couldn't have thought of a better guest on my inaugural episode.
I appreciate it.
You have helped me break my virginity, popped my cherry. I'll share something with you. One of the things I was really nervous about in terms of putting together a podcast was that my experience has been that for podcasts to do well, they have to destroy.
Right.
So if you watch the number of podcasts out there that do well, they tend to have something sadistic in the content. This is usually why you'll find there's alcohol on the table.
Right.
Because people have to numb the humanity in themselves so that they can destroy other people.
Right.
And we live in this world today where we legitimize destructive behavior by saying you're keeping it real.
Right.
So if I go on a podcast and I tell all your business, or even if I just throw allegations at you that aren't true.
Right.
If I start with, I'm going to keep it real with y'all, then nobody holds me accountable for my destructive behavior.
Right.
And my partner and I had this conversation. I was like, I just really want to be clear and make sure that when we do this, we can add, that we can give, that we can share. So that's the first thing I want to share with you. The second thing I want to share with you is this was the blessing you gave me, and you don't know this. When you do what I do, maybe let me say it this way. If you are a builder, you wake up every single day, you go to work, you take a brick, you put it on top of another. At the end of the day, you can see with your eyes the thing you've built.
Right.
If you're an engineer, you can see the bridge you've built. If you're a pilot, you can see the plane you've flown, right? If you're a mathematician or a teacher, you can see the student you've taught. When you do what I do, and you spend your time teaching, giving, mentoring, inspiring, there is a big delay between putting out the seed and seeing somebody who goes, man, you don't even know this, but I was going through stuff. And that seed that you planted landed on my good soil, and I've been able to build this. And so when you came to see me and we were sitting and you were like, man, I was going through those times, and it was just watching your videos, that really blessed me, because it let me know that in these millions of followers that are there, are actually human beings with real lives, real stories, real struggles, real battles, And my social media team is chasing the metric, and the metric is important.
Right, of course.
But behind the metric is the meaning of the person whose life has changed. So, Brother Walker, you found a brother, man. Thank you for this.
I appreciate the opportunity. I mean, I was able to build on your back, man.
I want my 10%. You got to pay your tithe now.
Right? No, definitely. But it was just a great experience. It's a great experience now, but definitely back then. And just hearing your voice, right? Hearing your voice, what an entrepreneur is. Because again, when you're coming into this, you're thinking, like it's just going to be smooth sailing.
Oh, yeah.
But then I'm hearing your voice telling me, man, this ain't what he cracked up to be, and this is not what it is, and this is not what it is. So in my mind, I'm like, well, he's saying he's not what he cracked up to be. So, so I guess this is just the way I'm on the right path, right? So, I definitely appreciate what you do. And many of my friends, they're impacted by what you do because I was able to share their word, and there are few of them that have business that look at you religiously as well. I'm just one of them.
Oh, amazing.
But there are many of them that is impacted by you, and we've used your words to guide us. And your words got me here sitting in front of you.
I'm humbled. That's it for our first episode, everybody. That's my brother, Quasim Walker. Make sure you look for him on social media. Follow him. Check out Clean Right, his company. He's doing some interesting things in tech now, so I think the future is going to be very exciting. I'm very keen to get your feedback. So hit us up in the comments. Let me know what you like, what you'd like to see more of. Let me know what you think of the format. And wherever you are, just pray for the person next to you. God bless you. Cheers.